You are watching Issues at Hand here on Church of Uganda Family TV. My name is Sumahiro Bruno Edgard. Welcome to this Wednesday episode. And of course, Issues at Hand is proudly brought to you by Protea Hotel in Tebe, where you can get the best in amenities. Hotel rooms, conference halls, swimming pool, gym, spa, and a wonderful lakeside view. You want to make that part of your experience this week and this month. So the number is on your screen. Make a reservation and booking today, and trust me, you will not regret it. You will give a wonderful testimony, and let it not just be for you, let it be for your family as well. Remember, students are now in holidays, so it's wonderful if we spend some time with our children. Go away from home, a different environment, and spend some wonderful time with our children and with our family as a whole. Now, this month, one of the days that we have to celebrate, we already celebrated International Labour Day. Right now we are having the International Red Cross Week, and we celebrated International Red Cross Day. But also, to add to that, we have International Menstrual Hygiene Day to look forward to this month. And so that is the issue that we are tackling this morning, as we are talking about menstrual hygiene and menstrual health here in Uganda, especially in schools. So what is it about? Let's dig right into it. And to tackle this issue with us here on Church of Uganda Family TV this morning, I have Mr. Ronald Kabunga, who is in charge of monitoring and evaluation when it comes to the gender unit of the Ministry of Education and Sports. You are very welcome to Issues at Hand.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers. Ronald Kabunga is my name. The Gender Unit, Minister of Education and Sports. I'm happy to be here for my first time.
All right, and thank you for accepting our invitation. Now, many of us, when we hear Ministry of Education and Sports, we are always thinking about the role as far as education is concerned, but also sports. But some of us may be asking, wow, a gender unit? I didn't know there was a gender unit in the Ministry of Education of Sports. So what is the mandate of this gender unit when it comes to the Ministry of Education and Sports in Uganda?
Thank you, moderator. First of all, I need to make the viewers understand that it is every ministry must have a gender mainstreaming department. And for the Ministry of Education and Sports, sometimes we are confused with Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. There is a gender mainstreaming unit that is tasked with the roles of ensuring that there is mainstreaming of gender-related issues in education. And sometimes when we talk about gender, people tend to mistake it with issues of women. Many people misinterpret it as talking about women. Gender is all about the socially and culturally constructed attributes or characteristics that are either attached to being a man or a woman in that case. And basically, from our upbringing, for example, there is a lot that was taught to you in terms of upbringing that made you probably believe that a man is supposed to behave like this, a woman is supposed to behave like this. So our major role is to ensure that such misconceptions, are actually dealt with in educations. And we create a leveled ground for competition within the education sector. For example, issues of enjoying sports and games. It is supposed, say for example, football. We knew when we were growing up that football is supposed to be for men, for example. It is now a leveled ground. Women can as well contribute, participate in in football. So our major role is to ensure that gender issues are dealt with. A gender issue is basically that problem that mainly affects one side more than the other. When we talk about teenage pregnancy, for example, the girl child is affected more. There are districts that are near the fishing area. We will be now addressing issues to ensure that the boy child now comes back to school. So there is a lot we do, stretching from policy. You know what ministry does. The issue of having the policies in place that guide all education institutions on how gender issues have to be managed. So that is within our mandate. But also promoting a safe learning environment is basically our mandate. When we talk about violence against children, you know how it affects education for the boys and girls. Sometimes many will drop out because of violence. So all these issues that we are talking about, issues to do with teenage pregnancy, issues to do with caning in school, for example, issues to do with the psychological violence that happens in school. It is within our mandate to ensure that the environment in all education institutions promotes a safe stay for everyone, actually beyond the boy and the girl. But there are also some other special categories, the children with special needs, the poor versus the rich, the rural versus urban. So all those are gender categories that, you know, we have to effectively be dealt with. So it is within our mandate that actually we ensure that all, everyone that is at school, beyond even the students, even the teachers, and the lecturers, are all safe and enjoy an environment that promotes their humble interaction.
Indeed, and that's very wonderful, and we shall get more into where that duty falls in when it comes to this issue of menstrual hygiene. Now, tackling the issue itself, what is the challenge of menstrual hygiene? How does it come into play, and how is it affecting especially students in school? And by students in school, I know many of us are thinking, of course, the girl child, but does it affect the boy child as well? And why is it important that this issue should be tackled?
Thank you. Like I actually illustrated before, our major role is to ensure that there is safe stay. Now, here comes a situation where the girl child, if she cannot really manage her menstruation well, she will miss 4 to 5 days. Let's assume we are in a term basis, in a term, in a month. And if we compute for a termly, at a termly level, that would be between 12 to 15 days missed. And do you expect them to compete at the same level with the boy child if they absent themselves because of menstruation? Really, it becomes a critical issue for us as a sector to handle. And for that reason, the sector came up and identified this as a major issue to deal with as far as the girl child is concerned. And you will ask, for example, is the boy child concerned? I'll give you an example. Assuming we have a discussion group. For example, you know, the lower secondary curriculum, it now gives the mandate to the child to have discussions beyond the teacher, make research and do some kind of peer engagement, which is very critical. And assuming our chair or secretary misses 4 to 5 days, won't I be affected indirectly? Because in terms of education, the girl child contributes the same as the boy child. So directly, indirectly will be affected. But also, me and you have sisters. Assuming your sister fails to continue with education and probably because of menstruation, won't that really affect the family as a whole, including you as a boy child? It actually tantamounts to disruptions within the family. But again, we all know that we have wives. And appreciation that the woman goes through this kind of period, it makes us, respect, first of all, but also help them, support. They all need support during this time. So in a way, we are also affected as men, as boys, they are affected by this problem. And it is indeed a problem as far as education is concerned for the girl child to begin with, and as well for the boy child, as I've explained.
Now, we have had so many times and seen incidences of, like you said, many students, especially the girl child, missing out on school because of lack of things like sanitary pads. And why is it that we have this issue right now? Where does it come from? Does it come from the fact that either families do not have the means to ensure that girls have the right hygiene in terms of their menstrual health, or is it something that we are underlooking as a society? We are not sensitized enough, or is it also a slack on the part of government when it comes to helping out, especially the families that can't enably buy things like pads, sanitary pads, to ensure that these girls remain in school and are safe in school, like you said, a safe environment in school?
Thank you very much. I ultimately believe that for us to effectively manage the issue of menstruation, it begins with one factor. Actually, the challenge we have got when we are sensitizing, when we talk about menstruation, people think it is the pad. And many of the public, people from the public think that when you buy a pad, when you give a pad, then it means you have addressed the problem, which is ultimately not the case. It is far, far beyond just the product itself, which is the pad. There are issues to do with knowledge. For example, traditionally, as men and fathers, they used to transfer that responsibility to mothers. And therefore, if we tend to actually ignore, say, those are women issues. And this affects sometimes if the girl is not free with the mother or the auntie, and of recent, many of these girls grow up when they are not interfaced with their aunties and the like. And here we are transferring the responsibility to the auntie, to the mother. We don't talk about it anywhere. So it happens to them when actually they don't know where to start from. That is why it has now become a point of focus for education sector. To begin with, we need a lot of awareness and sensitization, both to all stakeholders actually. It is beyond the parent, it is beyond the child, it is beyond actually the whole, you have the public, yes, the teachers, you have the child herself, and the boys as well, you have the parents to engage. They need more information. Now, when you are done with information, by the way, the knowledge bit extends to even alternative ways we can use in terms of provision for pads. For example, you reach an extent of training them, engaging them on how to make reusable sanitary pads. You don't just wake up one day and just get something as it was done, wrap and use. There are factors that you need to consider in making the reusable sanitary pad. So in such a case, there is a lot to do with sensitization and awareness. Then the products themselves, a lot that has to be done. Then there is wash, sanitation, hygiene related issues as far as menstruation is concerned. For example, if we provide a pad when water is not there, it becomes as in, they need to wash. So there are wash related issues, there are health related issues as far as menstruation is concerned. That is why you see some girls that cannot ably manage the menstruation. It tends to become so painful to them just simply because they cannot do the primary interventions that are recommended from the health practitioners. It has environmental related issues. For example, how do you dispose the pads? So there is a lot that has to be dealt with as far as menstruation is concerned. We are talking of environmental protection now. It's a global agenda, you know it, and how you dispose a pad really matters well. How the toilets, oftentimes schools are complaining that the toilets rather the latrines gets filled so fast, and it is because these girls do not have, for example, an incinerator where they can actually burn or dispose the pads. So there are very many issues that are related to menstruation. But to address those problems, it actually begins from the parent.
Now, on the parents,
yes.
And we're going to get into, of course, the mother. And in Africa, we have, of course, and in Uganda, we have a saying that it takes a community to raise a child. So parents also extend to relatives and so much more. But there is someone, or there are people who are watching us right now, and they're wondering, why are two men talking about menstruation? What do men have to do with menstruation? So what is the role of men, especially when it comes to a father, when it comes to helping the girl child in terms of menstrual hygiene?
And that right question, why are two men, it is the reason why we actually chose the men to lead this discussion, to take away the other social construct that it is women that are supposed to deal with menstruation issues. I'll give you an example. During COVID-19, I have my girl, she's now in senior 2. By then she was still sitting, she's now in senior 1, by then she was in P7. I opened up, sat with her. We talked a lot because I had a lot of time at home. We talked a lot about menstruation. From that time, this girl doesn't go to the mom, doesn't go any person in case she has a problem. She comes to me and she's free. When she's, for example, towards her menstruation, she comes and she tells me, Dad, I need pads. That kind of removing that barricade, stigma, requires men intervention. We have a colleague that had a wife that was working overseas, and it so happened that her girl started her menstruation the first time when they were 3 at home, the maid, himself, and that girl. So in that case, if he didn't have any information about menstruation, really it would have been a problem. But we had given some material, so he just locked himself in the bedroom, read some information, then went and sat the girl. That is how important it is for the men to have this information. First of all, for support reason, we need to support. As young boys, they need to support the girls that are going through menstruation, as opposed to stigmatization. When you find a girl, for example, having stains of blood in the uniform, you don't have to laugh at her. You actually have to support her in case you have, for example, something that she can use to wrap, for example, a sweater. I've seen boys testifying because of our intervention, because of our engagement to support the girl. So the girl needs support. Then as a father, you need to give both material but also the psychological support. It is so much required, and we all know that in a family status, when the father is so supportive, everything becomes easy at home. The moment we open up like this, then this will no longer be a problem to the younger girls. Instead, everyone will be talking about it freely. That is what we believe in. And as a sector, we have taken steps towards that.
That's important, because I know there are fathers out there who are wondering, okay, I want to support my child, my daughter or my daughters when it comes to this issue, but I don't have the information. So how readily and accessible is that material, for example, that you shared with your colleague, so that fathers can understand what's going on? Or do we need to go to resources online or other resources to ensure we know about menstruation and menstrual hygiene?
Okay, thank you very much. To begin with, I think we've ensured that we develop as many readers as we can, as far as sensitizing or creating awareness on menstruation. We have readers for primary, but again, there are readers for secondary. But we have gone as well to an extent of translating these readers in local language to reach out to the public. Sometimes I might, as a child, might have a mother or a father who actually does not understand English. And we have translated some readers in local language, though we still have a gap, not all local language. We haven't translated to all local language, but at least some few languages, like 6, we have tried to translate these in local language. So, but also the information is available on internet everywhere. I think we are moving to the digital world, as you know, global world. Information on menstruation is readily available. We work with partners, the media, and this, for example, this program, it's because of our continued interaction that has led to actually us really talking to the viewers out there. So we work with media. We have flyers that we normally have a printout, print and distribute, and then especially beyond the boundaries of the urban setting, we mainly want to reach out to the local person who still has the other culturally constructed perception that it is the issue of women, so that they can come on board. But the information is available. We have, like I said, readers. We have policy guidelines that we have really come up. We have strategic plans as a ministry that we have developed as far as MHM is concerned. But most importantly, the ministry cannot reach out to everyone. We also work with partners. Most partners that have a component related to WASH, we work with them, especially those working with schools. Many of them are part of what we call the Menstrual Hygiene Coalition, as I will elucidate later. Menstrual Hygiene Coalition, we created a coalition that brings on board different ministries that have something to do with menstruation, but also partners that are working in that particular area. And we have a kind of common information that we share, guided by the Ministry of Education and Sports.
That's fantastic. Now, going back to the roles, you explained the roles of fathers, but how about for the other parents, mothers and aunties? But apart from that, you say the other stakeholders, we have schools and we have the wider community. So what other roles can you expound on when it comes to the issue of menstrual health?
Of course, mothers, like the fathers, they need to give both material but also the moral support and the psychological support. Actually, we've learned over time that for a girl to effectively deal with this, they must be psychologically prepared. The reason why some girls take it as a problem, it is because there is no one that is talking to them to psychologically prepare them that, you know, this is normal and it is part of growing up. So once the mother and the father can sit down with their girl and take them through a series of knowledge, making them to understand that this is normal, it is normal. And by the way, you don't only sit down with the girl child, you also as well have to sit down with the boy children that are there so that they can support their sisters in your absence. So it has to be a parent's role to ensure that they sensitize, but they also prepare this girl before, not even at the time when they are about, but before they come preparing them so that by the time it happens, they know that this is what my mother, this is what my father talked about it. And then when it comes to other stakeholders, of course, the teacher is another one for us within our mandate. A teacher has to, first of all, give the knowledge, but also give the psychological support. The schools have to provide materials according to the sector guidelines. Every school is supposed to buy emergency reusable sanitary materials, sanitary pads. So in case it happens to a girl when she's at school, the senior woman teacher and senior man teacher are supposed to support these girls going through this problem. Actually, as a sector, that position of senior man and senior woman is critical because they are mandated to deal with such emergencies that deal with the well-being of the girl child and the boy child as well. So those positions are there. And then there are other structures at a school, school management committees. They are supposed to appropriate budgets and provisions for ensuring that these, but of course they are also supposed to monitor the head teacher, monitor the school activity to ensure that such provisions made in the budgets, UPE capitations, are there in school. But also talking to the girl child, like we are doing now, they are supposed to talk to the girl child. The school is supposed to invite parents and talk about these issues, but also give materials like booklets to the children to read, have talking messages on the compound. Like if we had a talking message on the school compound that menstruation is a normal, is normal and it happens to every adolescent girl. We don't need to stigmatize our girls. So if we had such talking messages all over the compound, it makes everything easy. We have the CDOs, the other at a local government level, Ministry of Gender works with the department for the CDO, Community Development Officer, and they have structures they work with up to the lower level, from parasocial work, the probation officers, the parasocial workers, the VHTs, all of those, LC, there is someone in charge of women issue at the LC, I think it's a vice, or is that particular person. So all those people are supposed to support the girl child who is not in school, or support this child when she is not in school. So we have structures and systems in place, but what we have, we encourage everyone is to take it as positive. Once you have a positive feeling towards that, it will cease to be a problem at any cost.
Indeed, and we shall continue having this discussion, especially when it comes to the International Menstrual Hygiene Day 2023. What is it about? Where is it going to take place in terms of its commemoration, and what do we expect from that day when it comes to this conversation on menstrual health? That is what we are going to get into. You are still watching Issues at Hand here on Church of Uganda Family TV, and this morning we are talking about the International Menstrual Hygiene Day and all that pertains to menstrual hygiene here in Uganda. So let's tackle the day. So once again, our guest for the day is Mr. Ronald Kabunga, who is in charge of monitoring and evaluation when it comes to the gender unit of the Ministry of Education and Sports. So Mr. Ronald, when is the International Menstrual Hygiene Day? I understand it's on the 28th of May as per the international calendar, but I also understand that the commemoration is going to take place on the 26th of May here in Uganda. Why is that, and what can we look forward to when it comes to the activities of the day?
Thank you very much. I think before we actually even talk about the date, there is a word international, and we all know that there are what we call sustainable development goals, and these were set, and Uganda is a signatory to such commitments, and we all know that it's a bit difficult for us. For example, there is goal 3 that talks about good health. For us to achieve good health, issue of menstruation has to be dealt with. There is goal 4 that talks about quality education. I've already explained how if MHM is ignored, if menstruation is ignored, how it affects education. So we cannot achieve that goal if we have not dealt with menstruation. There is goal 5 that deals with gender equality, and you know, like for example, for us to achieve gender equality where everyone is empowered at the same level, the girls have to go to schools, women have to be really protected and also appreciated. I was conversing with one of my colleagues that had a worst experience, that the husband used to force her into sex when she's in her menstruation. So, you know, it takes a man who appreciates and understands menstruation to support, but also respect your woman when she's undergoing through menstruation. So it's a lot that is required. And goal 10 that talks about reduced inequalities. All these goals have to be really achieved. And as a sector, we know we are contributing to this sustainable goal. Going back to 28th, first of all, a person will wonder why 28th May. And it was chosen with a lot of, critical analysis. On average, a woman goes through, on average, they take 5 days on average when they are in their menstruation period. And then on average, the cycle is 28 days. So that is why it is now 28th May that was chosen to be the International Menstrual Hygiene Day that is celebrated across the globe. By the way, not only in Uganda, but it is across the globe. And you will find on that day, it will be beyond Uganda celebrating this, but I've also given reasons as far as this is concerned. And then you will also ask, why is it Ministry of Education and Sports? Why isn't it, for example, other Ministry of Gender? We have, like I said, the Menstrual Hygiene Coalition that brings on board all the ministries, Ministry of Health, Gender, Water, and other ministries that have a stake as far as menstruation is concerned, but also NGOs. But for now, the chair for that coalition is Ministry of Education and Sports, and that is why it is ministry that is spearheading the preparation, of course working with other ministries of this International Menstrual Hygiene Day, and we have been celebrating it. Last year we were in Iganga. This will happen because 28th is a Sunday. It will be a Sunday. The members agreed to bring forward the celebrations to 26th. So for Uganda, our celebrations will be on 26th May. That is around 2 weeks from now. And it will take place in Moyo. This time around, it is in West Nile. The other time, the decision was the people that are mostly grappling with these menstrual issues are not in Kampala. So celebrating it in Kampala won't have, that serious impact that the desired effect that we want to have. So we are taking it in different regions. The other time it was in Iganga. Of course, the issues of menstruation that are in the eastern side and coupled with several other factors. This time around, the choice was in West Nile, and specifically it will be in Moyo, and the venue will be, yes, Moyo district. And the venue will be Moyo Boys, I think, primary school. That is where
it is interesting that it's going to take place at a boys'
yes, Moyo Boys Primary School. That is where we will have the celebrations. And we will have very many invited guests in this celebration, stretching from legislators, member of parliaments will be there, and other people from different structures of the government, both political and the technical wing will take part in this. And we'll have, this time round, there is an ingredient of the refugee component that we want to bring in, and specifically that is why the choice was in West Nile, because there are issues related to menstrual management as far as the refugees communities are concerned. They have their cultural aspect related to menstruation, and we did a survey and found out that there is a lot that needs to be done in the refugee setting as far as addressing the problem of menstruation. So that is why the choice this time round was that side. So 26th will be the day, and we have invited ministers, religious leaders, cultural leaders, media, social media all over. Will have a lot to say about menstruation that day. The teachers, politicians, senior men and senior women, I talked about that. Representatives of the Board of Governors, School Management Committee, the health officials, the community development officials, and very many colleagues. And the most important part is that we'll have a child participation aspect that we hope to bring on board over between 150 and 200 students that will go through a series of activities as far as menstruation from different schools and different communities as far as managing menstruation is concerned. That they will have exhibitions from different partners exhibiting their products, exhibiting what they do basically as far as menstruation is concerned, and a lot more about knowledge, but also giving evidence how the interventions have actually led to increased completion rate, but also the stay of the girl child within the school setting. So a lot is going to happen that day, and we invite whoever that cannot attend physically to be online. Like I said, social media all over, we'll be talking about the International Menstrual Hygiene Day.
Now we are looking forward to the day and to the celebration. Very quickly, in 1 minute or less, because we have run out of time. You spoke about having cultural leaders attend this wonderful event. How important, or actually not how important, but what is it possible and what will it take for there to be a cultural shift when it comes to what certain cultures perceive about menstruation? Because we see a lot of girls being affected by certain cultures that are demeaning towards women, especially towards things like menstruation.
Thank you. We actually believe in dialogue. We also believe in continuous sensitization. It will not take one day to change the perception of an individual that he has got for over a period of 30 or 20 years. It's about being fair. Once we bring that kind of fairness and you explain the right thing to this cultural leader, and we have seen very many now advocating for change in approach as far as menstruation is concerned. All our engagements have cultural leaders, and we believe that their voice is heard, and we believe that through dialogue, but also continuous sensitization over time. For example, there are things that were there then that are no longer a practice. Like I said, the aunties then were active. The aunties of today are not active at all. So we can't leave this child to get to go down the drain without any information. That is why it is now a point of focus in school, because the child is not going to get it at home. The parents are too busy, but also the auntie is not there, is not going to give that information, because we have .com aunties. So how do we support the what? The girl child is by making it a critical point of focus within our education institution. At least if they don't get it at home, they will get a dose at school.
At school, and I guess that's also where the religious leaders come in.
Exactly. And as a ministry, we are doing a lot. Like I said, beyond the policies, we have trained different stakeholders, like I've said, religious leaders, who have trained the teachers, who have trained senior men, senior women, who have trained learners as a ministry, either directly or through our partners who have engaged. We have reached a point of having standards, working with UNBS to develop standards for these menstrual hygiene products. So sometimes if everyone provides products that are not standardized, it becomes a little bit disastrous or dangerous on the side of the girls. So we are working with UNBS to ensure that all products have standards. We have incorporated issues of menstruation in our training curriculum. We have written circulars to education institutions to change their approach as far as issues of menstruation. So it is really a point of focus, but all, like I said, aimed at ensuring that there is safe stay of the girl child in the education institutions.
Well, we applaud the Ministry of Education and specifically the Gender Unit for doing its best to ensure that the girl child stays in school and is safe in school, especially when it comes to issues like menstrual hygiene. And it means that we all have a part to play. You and I, yes, men, women, and boys and girls, and aunties and uncles, to ensure that the girl child is safe and that the girl child can have her menstrual cycle without any issues and can continue to study for a bright future. Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald Kabunga, for taking us through that discussion of menstrual health and menstrual hygiene, and we continue to do our part as communities and as families to ensure that menstrual hygiene is something that is greatly followed and implemented here in Uganda. Thank you for joining us on Issues at Hand this morning. We shall return on Friday. For now, ciao, and enjoy the rest of the programming this day on Church of Uganda Family TV.